What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and you're watching our college football channel. It's time for my 5 takeaways from Week 15. Yes, Week 15. It's been a long season, almost over with. We're coming into Conference Championship weekend, which is going to be unlike any other Conference Championship weekend this weekend because there are other games. There are a bunch of regular season games still going on. You got every team in the Big Ten playing, several SEC teams playing, a handful of ACC teams. So it's going to be a fun weekend. And again, unlike anything we've ever seen in college football, I normally do these takeaway videos on Sundays, but I had the breaking news with Gus Malzahn and a few other stories. I did a couple of videos, and so I did not do the takeaways video. Decided to save it for today. So I'm going to give you my 5 takeaways from a very eventful Week 15. We're going to start with number 1. LSU ruins Florida's season. Who saw this upset coming? Of course, I did a video on it Saturday night and went kind of in depth into this game and my thoughts on everything. But I'm looking more at the big picture here. Florida had a chance if they beat Alabama in the SEC championship to go to the college football playoff. And I know most people are going to say it's unlikely that they were going to win that game, but they were in control of their own destiny. They win that game, they're in the playoff. Now they're not out of it, and the more I look at this, the more I start to study their path. They're going to need some help. They're going to need Notre Dame to beat Clemson, and I think they're going to need Texas A&M to get upset by Tennessee or Ohio State to get upset by Northwestern, and then see where Iowa State and Florida, where those two teams are ranked on these next rankings coming up tomorrow night. So that's going to be really interesting to see. But yeah, they're not out of it. If they beat Alabama, they're going to have a case. They're going to be an SEC champ with 2 losses. But the teams in front of them, they need some things to happen. I don't think Florida is going to pass a 1-loss Texas A&M team that has a head-to-head over Florida. When you go back to several years ago with Penn State and Ohio State, remember Penn State won the Big Ten with 2 losses, and they had a head-to-head over Ohio State. Ohio State, on the other hand, had that 1 loss, but they didn't even have the head-to-head, and they still stayed ahead of Penn State. So I don't see how Florida has any chance to pass A&M now unless A&M gets upset by Tennessee, which could happen. It's, crazy things. I mean, look what happened with LSU and Florida. So I'm going to say that it's very unlikely that Florida gets in, even if they beat Alabama, but there is still a chance. So for the most part here, LSU ruins Florida's season and definitely keeps them from controlling their own destiny to the college football playoff. That's my number 1 takeaway. This was obviously the biggest story coming out of Saturday. So let's go to number 2. North Carolina likely takes an Orange Bowl bid from Miami. Now, this will also be interesting to see where these two teams are ranked, but I would be very, very surprised if Miami is still ahead of North Carolina in the latest playoff rankings. So that means North Carolina is probably going to the Orange Bowl because the Orange Bowl has to take the highest ranked ACC team. And if both Notre Dame and Clemson are in the playoff, that means North Carolina is probably going to go to the Orange Bowl. Now, if Notre Dame knocks Clemson out of the playoff, then you could potentially have Clemson take that spot, and then North Carolina would be left out. Or maybe they're ranked high enough to get into another New Year's Six Bowl. That's another thing. It's going to be very interesting to see where the committee has North Carolina ranked. I think they've got to move up, and they've already shown that they really like this North Carolina team. But how about the disaster here for Miami? You have one big game, a chance to get to the Orange Bowl, have a very good year, and they just absolutely got embarrassed in this game. They give up 778 yards, 554 rushing yards. Unbelievable. Michael Carter had 308 yards by himself. This was just a terrible performance by the Miami defense. I know they were down a couple players, but still, there was no excuse for this. And I mean, I don't think you fire Manny Diaz from this performance, but Miami fans not going to be happy. I mean, you look at how they competed in their 2 biggest games, Clemson and North Carolina. They were blown out in both of those games. A lot of their wins were close wins. They don't have a signature win. This is a Miami team that was really overrated. There was no reason for them to be in the top 10. Again, they weren't competitive at all against Clemson, and they didn't have any great wins. So now we look back at it and say, yeah, maybe we should have saw this coming. North Carolina is a really good team. I know they have a couple of bad losses in Florida State and Virginia, and I still make the argument that they are overrated in the playoff rankings because what happens on the field matters. But at the same time, just how good I think this team is. Remember, I picked this team to go to the ACC Championship. I think this is a really good team, and we saw that against Miami. But still, I think you have to penalize a team for losing to 2 terrible teams. The committee not really doing that with North Carolina. So I guess they just view this as a good team. They saw them pretty competitive with Notre Dame. And because of that, they're probably going to the Orange Bowl. And just think, if they don't slip up and lose to Florida State and Virginia, which they really had no business losing those 2 games, they'd be sitting here with 1 loss and potentially be going to the college football playoff or maybe the ACC championship. I don't know how the tiebreakers would have worked. We could maybe even see Notre Dame and North Carolina in the ACC championship and Clemson left out. I don't know how those tiebreakers would have gone because I really know what they would go to, because you look at the head-to-head with those 3 teams, and North Carolina and Clemson would be 0-1 in the head-to-head matchups, and Notre Dame would be 2-0, so obviously Notre Dame would be there. They're undefeated. That would have been really interesting to see, but it's not going to happen now because, again, North Carolina really blew it in those 2 games, and you have to be thinking, if you're a Tar Heel fan, what if we had just taken care of business in those 2 games? This could have been a really special year for North Carolina, but the future is very bright. It's still a pretty young team, and watch out for North Carolina next year to make some noise in the ACC. Number 3 takeaway, it was another 4th quarter comeback for USC. This is the 3rd time they've come back in the final minutes to win a game. It was not a great start for them against UCLA. Keaton Slovis threw a couple of interceptions, and UCLA's offense was really doing whatever they wanted to in this game. But I tell you, the fight that this team shows, the way that they were able to come back again, they outscored UCLA 20-3 in the 4th quarter. Keaton Slovis, when the game's on the line, I don't know if there's a quarterback out there that I'd rather have than Keaton Slovis, because he has proven he can deliver time and time again. 3 times now they've been able to go down the field and score with under a minute to go to take the lead and win a game. This was just an unbelievable win for USC. I don't know if they've done enough to be considered for the college football playoff. They really needed an Oregon team on the other side or a Washington team to be undefeated and then have a chance at a signature win in the Pac-12 championship game. But you look at 3 of their 5 games being really close and not playing great teams in the Pac-12. I don't see a path for USC. I just don't see it. If they had been more dominant in these wins, maybe they would have a chance. But the way they've won some close ones, I don't think it's going to happen. But still a special year for USC if they can cap it off with a Pac-12 championship and then go to the Rose Bowl. Well, actually, it won't be the Rose Bowl because that's a playoff semifinal. But go to a New Year's Six Bowl, Fiesta Bowl, wherever they wind up playing. This was, again, an impressive win for USC. Just their ability to come back late in the 4th quarter. Big win for the Trojans. Clay Helton, you wonder now, has he saved his job after this team is having a pretty good year. But let's go to number 2 now, or number 4, I should say. We're going in reverse order here. Alabama looks unbeatable. That's my number 4 takeaway. I don't know if anyone's going to beat them. I know Clemson, Notre Dame, really good. Ohio State's really good. But you just look at the way this team's playing right now. This is maybe the best Alabama team that I've ever seen. You guys know I'm an Auburn fan. I don't like saying these things. I'm usually the one I'm talking about how Alabama's a little bit overrated, and I've called them out more than once and said that they were overrated, and they've turned around and lost. So I've been pretty right on this team. But right now, Alabama, they're just playing at another level, and it's because of their defense. Look, offensively, we know the last couple of years, we've seen it. They've become one of those top high-powered offenses that's going to score a ton of points. They can throw the ball. They can run the ball. Maybe the best offensive line in the country as they just keep getting better and better. Best receiver in the country in Devontae Smith. Best running back, or top 5 running back in Najee Harris. Mac Jones, top 5 quarterback probably. I mean, the offense, we know it's great, and we knew it was going to be great coming into this year, but it's the defense that has improved so much. You go back to that Ole Miss game, and you look at how much they've improved since that game. This team is just really, really good. The right type of offense, I think, can still maybe challenge their defense. So I'm not going to say that they are unbeatable, but the way they're playing right now, they look like they could be. Again, the defense is playing at such a high level. The secondary has improved so much. They just lock down these receivers, and the linebackers, their pass rush, their ability to stop the run. It's like the old Alabama defense. Match that with a high-powered offense. This team I don't know if anyone can beat them. I really don't know. This is just a really good team. And another thing for this team is their health. They haven't had any real big injuries this season. That's been something that's really kind of set them back the last couple of years, and it really just hasn't happened this year. They've been very healthy. Christian Harris, he did go down in the last game. I don't know how severe that is. Obviously, Jalen Waddle out for the year with his injury, or maybe for the year. Maybe he can come back for the playoff, not really sure. That was a big injury for them, but I don't think it really mattered that much just because the offense is so explosive. But defensively is where I'm really talking about this thing. They have been very healthy, and because of that, they've developed into an elite defense to go along with an elite offense. I don't know. Is anyone going to beat Bama this year? It's not looking likely. And let's go to number 5. Ohio State now in control of their playoff destiny. So they sat at home, and because they didn't play, they're now in control of their playoff destiny. I know that doesn't seem right, but it is what it is. It's a strange year, and it wasn't their fault that this game got canceled. But because Florida lost, there is no path for Ohio State to be left out of the playoff if they beat Northwestern. There's no chance. It's just not going to happen. There's nothing that the teams behind them can do to pass them. Florida's not going to pass them if they beat Alabama. Texas A&M is not going to pass them. Iowa State's not going to pass them. Now, if they don't play Northwestern, they don't get a Big Ten championship, then okay, we can start to look at that and say maybe they don't get in. But assuming they play that game, they are in control of their playoff destiny. If they beat Northwestern, the Buckeyes will be in the college football playoff 100%. There's just no path for any team to take their spot. It's just not going to happen because Florida lost to LSU. Again, there was a chance if Florida beat Alabama, if they had not lost to LSU, and then Clemson beat Notre Dame, there's a chance that Ohio State would get left out. But because Florida lost, there is no chance, and the Buckeyes will be in the college football playoff, assuming they beat Northwestern. So those are my 5 takeaways from Week 15. We are heading into Conference Championship weekend. Going to be a lot of fun. Several games on Friday, and then a full slate of games on Saturday. One of the most exciting weekends of college football, maybe in the history of college football. Really looking forward to it. I would love to know what you guys thought about Week 15. What were your takeaways? Leave them down in the comments below. Thank you for watching this video, and stay tuned for more here on the SG1 Sports College Football Channel.